Hey, everybody. Welcome to season 2 of the Black Men with Purpose podcast. For those of you joining us for the first time, it's a pleasure to have you with us. This is a safe space where we share our thoughts on a multitude of topics in hopes of helping Black males, young and not so young, overcome obstacles and challenges that can be hindrances to happiness, productivity, and success. We believe through our experiences, successes, and failures, we can have some conversations that might help other Black males in their respective journeys through this thing called life. So again, we are in season 2. Very, very excited to be back with you all. We have some exciting topics in store for you this season. We have a few things we want to do in this episode to get us going on the season. First,
put American values over autocracy, benevolence over bigotry, the Constitution over the cult, democracy over demagogues, economic opportunity over extremism, freedom over fascism, governing over gaslighting, hopefulness over hatred, inclusion over isolation, justice over judicial overreach, knowledge over kangaroo courts, liberty over limitation, maturity over Mar-a-Lago, normalcy over negativity, opportunity over obstruction, people over politics, quality of life issues over QAnon, reason over racism, substance over slander, triumph over tyranny, understanding over ugliness, voting rights over voter suppression, working families over the well-connected, xenial over xenophobia, yes we can over you can't do it, and zealous representation over zero-sum confrontation. We will always do the right thing by the American people. So
out of that, but I think the first one is a great segue, or gives us a chance to have a segue into the first question, and that is, what is the significance of Hakeem Jeffries being confirmed as leader of the minority caucus in the House of Representatives? Would it be more significant if Democrats were in the majority? So, first part is Hakeem Jeffries being elected to lead the minority caucus. And then two, would it carry more significance if that caucus was actually in the majority?
and I guess since I kind of started talking a little bit about Hakeem Jeffries a little earlier, I'll jump in here. Man, it's huge, right? The significance of it is that we're talking about uh, the first black person um, to lead a caucus, right? He will be setting caucus priorities. He's going to be making committee assignments, speaking for the party and its policies, all of that. I mean, that's a huge deal, right? And a huge responsibility for that matter. Um, and I do believe that it would have been more significant had Democrats just won a few more seats, right, in the midterms. Now, granted, there's no guarantee. Just because he won, um, you know, uh, just because he's leading his caucus in a minority, there's no guarantee that had
Right.
the Democrats won, he would have actually ran or been elected the first black speaker of the House.
Mhm.
However, had that been the case, it would have been huge, even more. It would have been more significant than the fact that he is now, the head of his leading his caucus. because when you think about the Speaker of the House, right, that's the second in line to the presidency. Something happens to the president, but then obviously the vice president takes over. If the vice something happens to the vice president, Speaker of the House is next in line to become president. So yeah, it would have been much more significant had he ended up becoming the first Black Speaker of the House. But on top of that, it'll be interesting to see if he actually pursues Speaker of the House should the Democrats retake the House in a couple of years. Um, and to finish up my thought on what I was saying earlier about how those races out there were like, oh my God, we got to take our country back after Obama. Um, I do not that I'm saying he shouldn't, because by all means, I would still want him to be Speaker of the House regardless of this. But I do fear that, you know, if he were to run for Speaker of the House and win, that those same races might feel that same way. And who knows what the backlash will be? Obviously, the backlash of Obama was Trump. Who knows what would happen, if Hakeem Jeffries were to become Speaker of the House? So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Brother Ray.
All right, appreciate you, Brad. Ain't much I could say because Kevin just stole everything I had to say, man. I swear. 'Cause, if I was to hold up this piece of paper, I was writing it down. I said Republicans would have lost their doggone collective minds if this had been Hakeem Jeffries as a Speaker of the House, knowing that he was going to be second in line to the presidency behind Vice President Harris. I swear I wrote that down, but you stole it. It is all right. That means great minds and warped ones think alike. So I'm gonna jump off of here and let John and Rod have it.
Well, I'll just say it was definitely significant. Uh, here we are, 2023, still experiencing significant firsts for African Americans in this country. Uh, you know, I think Kev brought up a great point, though. Would he have been elected had they been the majority?
Right.
Right? Or would we be so enamored with doing what we've always done and just reelecting, Nancy Pelosi because she's been there,
Right.
and you could point to all the things that she's done for those that believe in the liberal agenda, you know. But as far as the politics go, I'll just say that, as I talk to more and more African Americans, I know that a lot of their beliefs and their views and what they hold as values and standards definitely correlate uh, to a conservative agenda, right? So I think that, going forward, and I, for everything I know about Hakeem Jeffries, he's a good guy, you know, and means well, right? But I will tell you, the politics in this country as a whole leaves a lot to be desired.
For sure.
And so a little off subject a little bit, but I would just tell you that, while we applaud Hakeem Jeffries leading the minority caucus, I hope the same people that are clapping for him also get involved into the details of what these politicians' agendas are, right? My first one is, do you believe in term limits? Or do you think that a job in Congress is a career job?
Right.
No different than should a judge a judge appointed and confirmed be in a seat forever? Is that really what the founders of this country wanted? You know, some would say yes. If you want the country to be able to be controlled, uh, by a small group of people, then yeah, you absolutely want that. That's almost the ace in the hole card. So you can make all the progress you want, elect all the African Americans you want to positions of authority and power. But at the end of the day, congratulations, Hakeem Jeffries, but we still control the keys to the institutions that give us the power uh, to hold you down, if that's what we want and choose to do. So
Yeah.
still a lot to be done there. But since we got Dr. B back on, we'll turn the mic over to him. Talk about the significance of Hakeem Jeffries being confirmed as leader of the Minority Caucus in the House, and then also, would it be more significant if Democrats were in the majority?
All right. See you. All right, man. Yeah. Hey, I look at it as a chess move. You know, Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer and them could have went back into those positions, but I see that as a chess move, not only just for the people of color, but I just see it as a chess move for the nation moving forward. I know we try not to be too political, but um, I don't know. I just don't see the GOP just ever since Obama been elected. It's just been a movement of trying to um, undo everything with that election to the White House. It was like that White House was sacred to them, right? And now that has happened, now the last 12 years, nothing's really been positive coming from the GOP. I see with Hakeem Jeffries, it's like, okay, we got to start moving forward so the people of this nation can see there is a group of people that cares about the nation and cares about people, that are struggling out here. There's a group of people that cares about people that, they don't make enough money to feed their families. And so I see Hakeem Jeffries as hopefully as a point where people say, now I really need to understand the whole point of what the importance of elections are all about. So hopefully that will serve as people say, you know what, now let me start voting in my school board elections. Let me start voting for the mayor. Let me start voting for the city council, in the sense that now they can see, Hakeem Jeffries just didn't show up yesterday. He's been there for a minute. And so hopefully that will ignite people to start see how significant their vote does matter, because now we can start seeing once you put these people in these key places and these key positions, change can really start to take place. So I now, as far as being a majority or the minority, or if the Democrats were in the majority, I see it as a win-win either way. Could we been better if we were in charge of the House? Absolutely, but hey, I still see it as a win-win. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think that he would have been elected as Speaker of the House if Democrats were in the majority?
That part, I you know I I want to say yes. I really want to say I really want to say yes,
Oh,
because
because you believe that Nancy Pelosi would have stepped down?
I think for her, if I'm telling you, if her husband had not been attacked, probably not. I think she started seeing, okay, she's 80, her husband's been attacked. She's like, let me step back, because I only got I ain't got that too many summers left. You know what I'm saying? I only got a couple more summers left with him. And so if he had not been attacked, I don't think she would have stepped down.
Okay. All right. So, brothers, so we have time for the second one. If so, why do you think people are surprised at the claims of racism inside the royal family and throughout the world?
That, man, that question is
So
so interesting to me because the only people who are surprised by racism in the royal family are the people who don't know history, right? And at least not real history, right? There was this quote by Reggie Gibson who said, "Our problem as Americans is we actually hate history, right? We love stories about the past that make us feel comfortable about the present." And so, unfortunately, a lot of people just don't really know, pay attention to, even try to learn the real history of things. So those people are the only ones who are surprised by racism in the royal family. When you think about it, right? Let's think about the Commonwealth, which the Queen, well, now the King, is head of. Right, the Commonwealth is made up of 57 member states, which we know member states means countries. The majority, the great majority of those 56 countries are former territories of the British Empire, right? So, to put that in layman's terms, that means the royal family is head of a group of countries who were once conquered by the royal family, and now they voluntarily are part of this commonwealth headed by the royal family, right? It's like Stockholm syndrome or something. It makes no sense when you think about it. Um, but just like the United States, the British monarchy is what it is today, based on its colonial past and its colonial present and its involvement in the slave trade. So it's not like you know racism is new to the British monarchy. It's not new at all. It, in fact, it's the very foundation of who of who and what the royal family is and has always been. So again, I go back, I reiterate what I started off by saying. The only people who are surprised by racism in the royal family are those who don't know history. That's it.
I'll jump in real quick on this one, Rod, if you don't mind. Um, why do I think people were surprised at the claims of racism? Because there's never been a person of color as a member of the royal family. Just like there was never a black person sitting in the Oval Office in the White House. The White House was always white. The royal family was always white. And now that there's a person of color in there, that's all of a sudden everybody's shocked because of at these claims of racism. Like Kevin just said, racism has always been there. It's been a staple of it. It's been a staple of part of the royal family. There's never been a person of color as a member of the royal family. So people are just surprised by it because it has never happened before. It's a first. So next.
Dr. B.
I was surprised. Yeah, I don't know about y'all. I was surprised. Shoot. No, man. It's okay, sweetie. He'll be back. Listen, dude. Yeah, we not surprised. I mean, we not surprised. I mean, again, this is something we deal with every day, and not that we. And here's the thing, I'm just like your parents, my parents. They did not teach us to be racist. It happens for us every day. So, again, like what Kevin was saying, the only people that are surprised, the only people that are surprised are the people who are like, y'all wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Long story short, y'all wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. So anytime there's a place where we wasn't supposed to be, all of a sudden that's when racism shows up. Yep. So,
Brother John.
oh, well, let me say this real quick. How many of y'all? It's 3 of y'all that's chiefs on this call, right? Y'all wasn't supposed to be there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all wasn't supposed to be there. So no, that's part of it. Racism comes into play when you show up where you weren't supposed to be.
I'll just say it's the same folk that were surprised when Obama got elected president,
Right.
right? And for those that that are confirmed optimists, they just believed that change had come up until reality took over. And so I just think back to when when he got engaged, to Meghan Markle. Everyone, the monarchy has come forward into the 21st century. Yeah, yeah, no.
Hmm.
All those individuals that hold on to the past, their beliefs, what they've always believed, yeah, that doesn't change. They thought it then, but they had to whisper it, you know, until they got word that they don't want to be part of this anymore because of the treatment. Oh, yeah. All bets are off, the gloves are off. Now we can say what we've always felt. Uh, and the fact of the matter is, it goes back to the previous question or conversation we had about, when the world sees people, do they see color first? And, the unfortunate thing is that the vast majority still do, and you're good, you know, unless it comes inside their own home, right? If your daughter wants to date someone outside her race, oh, that's wonderful. But if my daughter wanted to do it,
Right.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, great conversation. Anyone else want to add anything to that? Because I think we are going to turn it back over to Brother John. Oh, we got time for another one? I guess we do.
Yeah. Keep the
So
party going.
okay. Well, this one definitely should be a party. Why are politicians and the White House reluctant to put forth a written policy regarding immigration? Because as it stands today, what they're doing makes absolutely no sense. It's almost like they are being quiet in hopes that the world doesn't see what's going on. So, Brother Kev, I know you got something to say.
Oh man, please. Oh,
Man, in this one, I'm going to criticize the Democrats more than anything, right? We already know what the Republicans are all about, right? They not that I am in agreement with any of their or the majority of their views and thought processes on immigration policy. But one thing I will say about the Republicans is they are not afraid. It's not them. This question really doesn't apply to them because they're not afraid to put forth written policy regarding immigration. It's just that the written policies that they want to put forward are racist, they're illegal, they're all these different things. It's the Democrats, right, that don't want to put forth written policy. And I cannot figure out for the life of me why Democrats are so afraid of it. I mean, I have a few thoughts, but I don't have anything concrete on it. It's it seems to be maybe possibly the most polarizing issue just amongst the Democrats themselves, right? I'm not talking crossing the aisle, just amongst Democrats. That seems to be, man, maybe the most polarizing issue because amongst Democrats, you have moderates and you have progressives and they can't agree on what the written policy should be. And right now we have this which I shouldn't be surprised that this title 42 policy that Trump put into place, which is illegal, yet the Supreme Court upheld it for right now, for the time being. It makes no sense to me, right? We're talking not allowing asylum seekers to stay in this country. It is our law. It's literally United States law that asylum seekers have the right to seek asylum in this country, to have a hearing, right? And yet this Title 42 is being upheld by the Supreme Court, which again, it's completely illegal. It's denying them that right. Um, But man, it's just such a polarizing issue, and Democrats, if you notice, that is not even something any Democratic politician runs on. You don't even really hear them talk about it when they are running for any sort of public office, whether it be president, whether it be governor, um, House, Senate, whatever. They try to stay as far away from immigration as they can because they don't seem to have any concrete views on it. And so, not to muddy the waters anymore, but honestly, man, I just can't answer the question other than just to say that they don't know where they stand on it. So it's a conundrum.
Is it a conundrum because of the politics or their personal beliefs? Because I'm always of the opinion that if you're an elected official and you go to Congress, you have an opinion, right? Whether you're willing to state that publicly or not
Right.
depends on the politics of it.
Mhm.
And that's the problem I have with elected officials.
Right.
You know, if you have an opinion or position, you've heard from your constituents on it, y'all have had an opportunity to dialogue about it, then just state what it is, you know? And if you're in the minority opinion of it, so be it, right?
Right.
Because it wasn't meant to be a lifetime job anyway. You know,
Right.
you support the position of your constituents. And I can tell you that it seems that many people would like to see a policy, but I didn't mean to jump in there. I'll turn it back over to Brother Ray.
All right, appreciate you, bro. Well, I wrote one word down. I wrote one word down when you talk about Democrats: spineless. Spineless. That's why they they don't want to do anything. That's why they don't want to come up with a written policy. Again, that's my opinion. They're spineless. They're too busy being worried about getting reelected. You know, they're afraid of losing those those middle road Republicans that might vote for them. But if the Republicans are already against the browning of America, the far right Republicans are already against. I mean, they've made it clear they are against the browning of America. So these Democrats are worried about getting reelected. Like you said, even though we believe there should be term limits, right now it's it's stay as long as you like, stay as long as you can get elected or reelected. So to me, I think they're worried about getting reelected more than anything. They don't want to set that precedent of writing something down and coming up with an official policy other than the asylum seeker, the asylum seeking law that's already on the books. They don't want to come down with anything that's even stronger to bolster that. They're too busy worried about getting reelected, man. That's just how I see it. And they know if they vote for this, then they're going to lose those middle road Republicans that might vote Democrat, or the ones that would vote Democrat. So I'm going to yield the floor on that.
And before anybody else jumps in, real quick, to be fair, I don't want to, again, just to be fair, I will say that what it was a week and a half ago that Biden actually did unveil a new policy regarding immigration. Whether you agree with it, like it or not, he actually did get off of his butt and do something about it. I guess that's there's something to be said for that. I guess I know the new policy had something to do with like allowing what is it? I think 30,000 migrants a month from four different
Mhm.
countries, Cuba, Haiti, a couple other countries,
Right.
to come in. But also, it's cracking down on kind of those migrants who fail or who don't use the legal pathways to come in.
Right.
So he has some other things, I guess, in that policy. So again, just to be fair, he actually did put something out there, whether it's good or not. It's something.
Well, I'm gonna jump back in on that one. On that one, Kev. Yeah, it's good that he did do that, but what the hell are they gonna do to him? He ain't gonna run again. I don't care what anybody says. He's not gonna run again. That man is too old to run again. So what are they gonna do to him? Nothing. It's not like he's gonna have another race to lose. He's out of there when this term is over. So again, that's something. But as far as these younger folks that are up in there, they're not trying to do anything, man. They're not. My bad, folks. My bad.
Dr.
No,
B.
yeah, it's just like if you put something in writing, then like you got to be fair to the black and brown people that show up. How many times have we seen when Haitians get here, dude, they'll put them on a plane to get them back to Haiti, quick and fast and hurry. But you have folks that worked with our quote CIA folks in military over in the Middle East. Oh, they get to come because they were helpful. And most of the time, guess what? Black and brown people come from countries, that don't have the resources to help, right? And so if they put some in writing, then now guess what? Now it's fair play for everybody. You can't send us back. You can't send the Haitians and the Cubans back as quickly as you did before because now they got something in writing. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but I think because our people, and again, we're still being victimized, and because guess what? I guarantee you, all them buses, them Florida and Texas governor been sending, I bet you ain't no Haitians on them buses. Ain't nobody from Cuba on them buses. I'm just leaving it at that. I'm done.
Wow. Yeah, we could talk about that all night, right?
Yeah, for
I
sure.
have so much more to say about it. Because some of it is just nonsensical to me. And we come from a background being in the military or former military where we understood processes versus the lack of processes, right?
Mhm.
And it is just that simple, and processes either being followed, like the law is either being followed or it's not. And then who's accountable for that?
Right.
The rest of it is just nonsensical to me. So I think we had another question. Why do you think so many are reluctant to plan for life for their loved ones after they themselves are gone? So, and I know we've probably hit on this in the past in some communities that value having a plan or strategy versus those that feel like if I'm not here, God bless those that are. So but it's a real thing because I think there seems to have been in the past a difference of opinion and views regarding whether or not we make preparation for our families, especially if we're the leaders of the family, the head of the household. Are we making provisions so that our families don't have to suffer, whether financially or otherwise, after we've departed this earth? So, floor is open.
I'm always going first. I'm going to let someone else go first for once.
All right, I'll go first. Me and Rod were talking about this before we all came on. I think the reluctance just comes from a lack of knowledge. And I tell you what, when you go through that process and that insurance and those measures aren't in place and you go through, you never want it. That's why I was laughing so hard, just because, man, you hear people say that all the time. Well, I'm gonna be dead, so why do I care? I'm like, no, because there's gonna be people left behind that gotta deal with how to divide your assets and how to come up with, you go to the funeral home and they tell you, oh, we got a deal for you for just $12,000. We can get the economy. Like, you think I just got it like that? I got it on me, and And it's a lot. So I think education, and I think we're probably going to really get into this later on in the season, but life insurance is not just something that makes it easier on your people to properly funeralize you. That is a foundational
Yeah,
generational wealth building step
yeah,
that our community has dropped the ball on and missed that opportunity. And I say this all the time, if you got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grandchildren, man, we get together and put a policy on Big Mama, paying $20 a month a piece. And, when something happens, because it's Big Mama, she third, fourth generation up. So it's coming. And, then you start off and you got a 6-figure settlement, and everybody can get a piece and divide all this. And it puts us so far ahead of the game. So now at this point, now we're not taking out loans for college or having to struggle for houses and all this. Now we've got, liquid, we've got equity, we've got all these other things to be able to get involved in all these other wealth building. So I think it's just the fact that the knowledge isn't out there.
Yeah.
Fun fact. So I was listening to to Robert Smith talk to
mm-hmm.
and he mentioned that 60% of Black wealth goes towards paying student loan debt.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the conversation of forgiving debt is going to come up later on in the season, but 60%. So you're already way behind the power curve by the time you even get an education. But I just wanted to throw that out there. I'll turn it back over to Dr. B. I'm sure you were getting ready to say something.
I'm gonna go back on what you were saying about the debt of education. Elizabeth Warren was saying, when she went to school, she was able to go to school on a part-time job and pay for school, right? But then when she broke it down, she said, the Ivy League schools, guess what? Their kids, only 2% of the students that go to Ivy League schools need student loans. That means 98% of their parents at Ivy League schools are writing a check for their kids to go to school, or grandma is writing a check, right? HBCUs, 80% of the students at HBCUs are getting student loans to go to school. 80%. And again, it goes back to what John was saying. We just have not been informed. We just have not been privy to those educational opportunities when it comes to wealth building and putting our monies together, and some of the things we could do to save. As far as the reluctancy to plan for loved ones, we just don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. It's just, I had that job working in the hospital, and I worked in a primarily white hospital, and then I worked in a hospital where 80% of it was Pookie and Ray Ray and them, right? And they just was not prepared for it. They would leave Big Mama in the morgue 15, 20 days because Uncle Juju and them still trying to pull money together so we can go to the funeral home. Whereas when I worked in a predominantly white hospital, people they were just pulling them off the life support, and before they knew it, the funeral home was there to pick them up. They was like, no, my loved one is not even going to the morgue. They're going straight to the funeral home. So it's just a lack of understanding what is out there available. And then that's when I found out there are so many people that say, hey, guess what? You can give your loved one to science. It don't cost you nothing, right? We'll give your loved one's body to science. We'll do all the research on your loved one, and then we'll give you all the money you need for the funeral, for the cremation, or whatever. They'll do that. And so I found out a lot about opportunity that's not even privy to us. So, but yeah, it's just that reluctancy, either because we just don't want to talk about it, we scared. I went to a funeral home once with a family, and they was in there picking out everything, man. They was like, oh, we want this cast, we want that. And then the funeral home director was like, yeah, that'll be $27,000, man. 4 people pulled back from the table. Oh, I ain't got no money. I was like, I ain't got no money. They done picked out the headstone, the casket, everything. Oh, I ain't got no money. Okay, well, we got to throw all that out and start all over again. But yeah, man, we got to do better with that whole piece as a people. But I think that's just I'm just leaving it at that. We just got to do better with that. But and you don't have to have a lot of money. And I think that's part of our issue is a lot of people, you got to have a lot of money to prepare for the hereafter, and you don't. You know what I'm saying? You don't need a lot of money. And a lot of people think you got to have a lot of money to do that. And so, well, we're not going to worry about it.
That's actually the piece that I was just about to bring up. I agree with everything that's been said, but I was going to mention that one thing. I think that it is a variety of things. I think one, when we're talking about the Black community, it's well, yeah. I mean, once I'm gone, I'm gone. So y'all figure it out. I also think it's education. So everything that y'all have said, but I think means, right? I think that in the Black community, a lot of especially when we're talking about poor Black people, they feel like they don't have the means to be able to do it. I think a lot of them would like to. A lot of them feel like, well, man, if I could have insurance, if I could do this, if I could estate plan, I don't have an estate to plan for. I don't have all of these different things. So how am I supposed to be able to take care of my family or help my family be able to bury me or cremate me or whatever the case is, if I just don't have the means to do it. But a lot of that also comes with education, because it's like B just said, it doesn't necessarily, it's not like you have to come up with $10,000 today, right? You can start putting some money aside every month, right? To start, for a plan for something. I mean, even I would say a great majority of poor people still find a way to be able to blow money on something, right? I know I grew up that way. I know, Black folks, we find we find some coins to play the lottery. We find some coins to buy a pack of cigarettes. We find some coins to go and get that 40 ounce, right? Or whatever the case is. So you come up with something, some little bit of change to do these little things, you can be taking that money and putting that aside to start planning, for your family to be able to bury you or do whatever is necessary and have some peace of mind once you're gone. So again, I think it's a combination of probably those three main things. I would say those people who say you figure it out once I'm gone, the people who aren't educated enough to know about it, and then those who feel like they don't have the means. And those last two tie in together, because again, you feeling like you don't have the means is probably because you don't have the education to understand that and I don't mean like education as in a high school diploma or something. I mean education as in researching to find out, what you can do. So
And
Well,
it's definitely, go ahead. I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
B. Go ahead, B.
No,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say definitely education, man. I remember working at the hospital. I had a brother who worked for the federal government, been in the federal government 15 years, came to the hospital, had a heart attack at work, died, brought him to the hospital. And I had to go to the family like, hey, who's the legal next to kin? Because that person's got to make decisions. And his sister was there. And I was like, yeah, I need to know who his primary care physician is so we can reach out, find out if he had any underlying conditions or whatever. She said, oh, no, John didn't go to the doctor. John took pride in not going to the doctor. He probably hadn't been to the doctor in 12 years. I was like, well, that's why we're having this discussion right now. And,
yeah,
and
hence
here's
why
somebody
John is
who,
gone.
yeah, here's a federal
Yeah.
worker that had health insurance and would not go to the doctor. And I don't know if it's because, just naturally, some of us reluctant or whatever, but he felt like as long as I'm good. But that was the reason why he did now, because he never went to the doctor. So.
Well,
Well, you know
with that,
why.
with you
I
saying
mean,
that,
we've
B.
talked about that in the past. I'm sorry, Ray. We've talked about
Okay.
that in the past, how Black men, have traditionally been that way, right? Not wanting to go to the doctor. And we've talked about, last season, we talked about the reasons why that is, too. So, it really, I'm sure it went back to that, because it sounds like he was an older guy, too. So I'm sure it had a lot to do with that. But go ahead, Ray.
Oh, well, all I was going to say is, with that reluctancy, just touching on what you guys just talked about, you know, a lot of us don't want to know, for whatever reason. If I'm sick, I don't want to know, you know. For me, when we talk about the reluctancy to plan for life for their loved ones, you know, some of it's short-sightedness, some of it's procrastination, some of it is somebody's worried that they woman or they man gonna go spend that money on somebody, on some other woman or man. You know, I know a lot of people I know. It's just they don't have the desire to have that morbid or uncomfortable conversation. So you know, uh, they just, like you said, they deal with it when the time comes, and then here it is. Well, we don't have any money to bury somebody. Well, we got to start a GoFundMe account to bury someone and everything, and it shouldn't be that way, man. I believe we're going to talk about that, further in the season, about the importance of having life insurance. But that's pretty much all the thoughts I had on the subject.
All right. All great points. I think still the fact remains that, we have to make plans, right? That's part of the broader conversation of, generational planning, that directly impacts, our economic status. Plain and simple. For as many people in our community that pass away that don't have a plan or a policy to take care of their arrangements, it places an even greater burden on those that are left here to try to, stand up GoFundMe pages, or, you know, can we hold off until the first when I get my check? I got something to contribute then. I mean, just all types of things that, that quite honestly could be avoided if we would just, as a family, be able to sit down and have a real conversation about real things that happen every day, like people dying, So and I would tell you, and so that points back to, what we talked about as far as discipline in making decisions about real life things, as opposed to acting like, we're invincible somehow. No, you're invincible. Maybe you don't care because you won't be here, but your kids are going to have to deal with it. Maybe your siblings or even your parents in some cases, So, uh, just part of the broader conversation we need to have with regard to planning, you know, setting goals, being disciplined about what we need to create our own here in this world, in a society, whether they're for us or not. You know, if you're disciplined with what you do have, you know, you can create opportunity for yourself. So anyway, I think that was it. We're going to go to the season 2 preview. Access to healthy lifestyles and affordable health care. One of the things that we want to tackle coming up in season 2. We also want to discuss Black men and mental health, as witnessed by the untimely and unexpected death of Twitch. We want to have that discussion. We want to talk about the macro and micro community impacts that take place. I'm really, and I think we're really interested in knowing what things impact our community and prevent us from being able to move forward and create more of a sense of community. And that leads right into how we then can go about contributing to those improvements that are needed. and choosing the right kind of partners, right? So, who are actually our allies in this journey? And we're gonna have a conversation about that just to make sure that we're considering those things that we should be considering. All right, because who you partner with, will have a lot to do with whether you're successful or
Oof,
not. So,
absolutely.
and that's in every realm you can think of.
Yes.
you know,
No question.
right? So we want to go into that, and then we want to have a session where we take questions from the audience and allow the brothers to provide answers to those questions. I think that was a really good episode in season 1. We wanna definitely go back to that in season 2 to let the audience be able to provide us some questions and maybe their perspective. Then getting the support we need from the institutions that expect us to support them. And that goes into the question about whether or not those institutions are really doing what they should or could be doing for the African American community as a whole. And if not, what could be done different or better? And who is actually holding them accountable? And then this is always a huge topic, but Black men and our relationship with our women. I'm not on social media, but I hear it's discussed a lot on social media. Uh, but I think we just want to have a conversation about it. We know that men and women are different, and then we want to talk about how we can overcome some of those. Uh, I won't even say overcome some of those differences because we want them to be different in a lot of ways. But some of the obstacles that hinder us from being able to communicate as effective as we should, so that we can come together and get to real solutions with regard to relationship.
Yeah, we need to move that up to number 1. Get number 8. Let's start off with that one.
And then last, we want to go into staving off the victim mentality. We as Black men might not be responsible for what has happened to us, but we are responsible for what we do in overcoming it. And so we definitely want to delve into that. We know that, being a people that was, originally brought here against their will anyway. And then there were a lot of contributing factors that took place after we got here in order for them to try and, maintain control of us. And so how do we get over that, and talk about some of the things that we've done to, contribute to our own demise by not being able to get real help to get over that. So then unwavering and unquestioned loyalty to progressive and liberal policies and politicians. And, this speaks directly to, many people in the minority communities have always supported a political party because that party has always been more for giving them free stuff and not necessarily holding them accountable for it. So we'll keep voting for them because they're going to give us stuff. Is that really what's best for us going forward? And then we'll talk about the economic state of Black America. We know that we make and contribute billions upon billions of dollars to the economy here in America. And so we just want to talk through that and see if there's some things that we could and should be doing differently and better. And so that's just a preview of some of the things that we'll be discussing here in season 2. Certainly appreciate you brothers being flexible with the pivot today. And appreciate Brother John for helping us as always and bringing this together
Absolutely.
seamless.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, we just came through the holidays and a lot of going on during the holiday, but we definitely want to continue to look forward, make sure that we, as brothers, as African Americans, continue to take care of our health first and foremost, and then also lean into what we can do to contribute to the moving forward of our communities. So, with that being said, any parting words, Brother Ray?
None for me, thank you.
All right, Dr. B.
Looking forward to this next season.
All right, John. Okay, then Brother Kev. I know you always have a parting word, so I'm gonna.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Yeah. I'm sorry, did I cut somebody off?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Great stuff. Really good topics, really good dialogue, as always. And like B said, I am very much looking forward to the second season and, kind of having some further dialogue about some things and hopefully offering up some more tools for your tool belts and your tool boxes. So, with that, we want to thank each of you for taking the time to join us. As we wrap up this week's episode, I want to leave you with a quote by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who in a 1967 speech said, again, we have deluded ourselves into believing the myth that capitalism grew and prospered out of the Protestant ethic of hard work and sacrifice. The fact is that capitalism was built on the exploitation and suffering of Black slaves and continues to thrive on the exploitation of the poor, both Black and white, both here and abroad. And in that same speech, King went on to say the problems of racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power. Until next time, peace.